Criticizing modules is weird. It's not like criticizing books or movies. Everyone who watches Flubber has seen the same Flubber. So if they're in a conversation about Flubber, it's safe to assume that they're talking about the same movie, which is Flubber. It's a common ground that everyone has to talk about this one movie. However, my Lost Minds of Phandelver game that I ran when I was 14 is going to be a lot different than the Lost Minds of Phandelver game that Griffin McElroy runs. So how are we able to criticize Lost Minds of Phandelver if we ran it differently at our tables? Our players had completely different experiences. The DMs had completely different experiences. I don't think we can criticize the game that is ran at the table, but what I do think we can criticize is the book, the product, the pages, the words. That is what we can criticize, not the game that we have at the table. Because once we put that game through the filter of the Dungeon Master, we lose that common ground that we had with Flubber. What I believe that we can criticize is not the game, but the book, the words and the pages, the product that you buy, not the game that you run. Which brings me to all the comments that I got. A lot of the comments had all the same Moon Brain Galaxy take, which was, oh, you can just homebrew it. Just homebrew the book that you bought. Oh, perfect. Why didn't I think of that? Because if I have to modify the adventure in order to make it good, then the adventure itself is not good. If you paid $60 for a video game and then afterwards spent hours downloading or coding mods in order to make it fun and playable, then the game that you bought is a bad game. So the criticisms of these pre-writes isn't toward the DMs who are running the game, but towards the people who were writing the game and selling it as a product. This is so hopefully that future writers and future game developers are able to create better products that we hopefully don't have to modify for our tables. Speaking of bad writing, let's start the video now that that disclaimer is over. Waterdeep Dragon Heist is really weird, and the title is a little bit of a clickbait. I don't think it's bad and that you shouldn't run it. I have
constructive criticism. Here's what didn't work for me and what I think you could do better next time.
I just want you to know how people really feel about this. For you, this is like I'm doing this for you.
Let's start with the tutorial adventure, because the tutorial adventure of Waterdeep is one of the weirdest ones. If you're not familiar with a lot of the products that Wizards of the Coast makes, the pre-written adventures that they have, a lot of the time, I think all the time really, they have a little adventure at the beginning of the book in case there are players that are new to the game, or if you want to be able to start your campaign at level 1, there's a little adventure that gets you from level 1 to 2 or maybe level 1 to 3, and then the actual pre-written adventure happens. And Dragon Heist has one of the weirdest opening tutorial missions that I have ever seen. It starts with the players in a tavern. Of course, it starts in a tavern. This is the Yawning Portal Tavern, which is a tavern and also the entrance to a dungeon. And then a bar fight breaks out while the players are just sitting down and talking, and the players can decide to intervene in the bar fight, or maybe they don't want to intervene in the bar fight. I think it's assumed that the players are going to intervene, but it's optional. You don't have to force them. And then after the bar fight, a troll comes out of the ground because it's an entrance to a dungeon. A troll comes out surrounded by sturges. The player characters are level 1, so they're not going to be able to kill the troll, which is why the barkeep is a level 17 fighter with a bunch of magic items that kills the troll in 2 rounds, and all the players really have to do is kill the little sturges that are flying around it. All of these are happening to demonstrate to the NPC quest giver who is in the tavern that the player characters are competent and are worth hiring, and then the NPC quest giver will come up to them and hire them from a job. The quest giver, by the way, is Volo from the book. Volo's friend went missing and he hires you to go find him. It's a pretty fun mystery. It's a little mystery that you get to investigate. But before we get into that, I want to go back to what just happened in the tavern. I think a bar fight happening in a tavern is pretty cool, and I think a troll coming out of the floor is also pretty cool, but I don't know why they both happen back to back. Why do we have a bar fight and then have a troll come out and attack? And why is it optional? Since both combats are optional, you get this weird possibility where the players sit back and ignore both of the combats happening, and then the NPC quest giver comes up to them and hires them anyways. Here's the thing. When you're writing, you don't want to have to use the words "and then" when you're describing your story.
We've found out this really simple rule that maybe you guys have all heard before. We can take these beats, which are basically the beats of your outline, and if the words "and then" belong between those beats, you're
Dragon Heist is full of and then moments. You're in a tavern, and then there's a bar fight, and then some trolls attack, and then Volo hires you, and if you find his friend, he rewards you with a house, and then a fireball goes off, and then I mean, chapter 3 has this encounter chain, which is literally this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens. But that is mostly just nitpicking stuff. I think what my biggest problem is that Waterdeep Dragon Heist isn't a heist. Chapter 1 is bar fighting and finding Volo's friend, which is not a heist. Chapter 2, you're completing a bunch of different quests that the factions are giving you. None of them are heists. Chapter 3, the players are sent down on a treasure hunt and go down an encounter chain. All of that does not include a heist. Even the heist at the end isn't really a heist. Even the titular dragon heist isn't even a heist. I mean, come on, the only way that I'm able to get into this vault is if I find the magic item that tells me where it is and all the magic keys that lets me into it. That's a dungeon. That's not a heist. That's just a basic dungeon crawl. There is also no other viable way of getting into the vault. You don't have to plan for this heist. You just do what the book says you gotta do. Also, there are no guards, no chance of getting caught, so you can just walk in and grab the gold and then have the little preset encounter with whatever faction villain that there is, and then you have the gold and you're done with the adventure. I mean, come on, half the fun of heists is the risk of getting caught. The fact that if any slip up can cause you to have a guard notice you or trip an alarm of some kind. But since this is in a hidden vault, there's no risk of that. There's no risk in the heist. Heists are all about risk, guys. Okay, while there are elements of robbing and thievery that could technically qualify as a heist, what Waterdeep Dragon Heist fails at is fulfilling the genre of a heist. This is what I think makes the elements of a fun heist. First is the planning stage. I think planning a heist is pretty fun. It's the most fun you can have coming up with a plan in D&D. I mean, there's assembling your crew, giving everyone in your party different assignments that everyone feels useful. There's strategizing, there's coming up with clever schemes, anticipating future obstacles, and when that stuff works, it makes the players feel smart. It makes them feel like, oh man, I'm smart enough to heist this bank or heist this casino. And then there's also the risk factor in the heist, the fact that you could always get caught at any moment. Any slip up can cause you to be caught and blow this whole thing. Also, having a ticking clock, response times, you know, once we trip the alarms, we got 2 minutes to get out of here or we're all toast. And then while you're doing the heist, there are twists and complications. The plan can't go perfectly smooth, and I think part of the fun is thinking on your feet when something goes wrong. It adds to the tension, it adds to the drama. Drama's good, drama is fun. And then one of the most important parts of a heist is the reward, the payout, achieving the goal that is valuable enough to warrant all this planning and all this risk. In Dragon Heist, what you really just get is a dungeon, but before the dungeon, you get this whole chain of encounters, you get this mystery that you need to solve. You are basically investigators. And to be honest, it's not that bad. It's pretty good. It's a pretty good mystery, which I think is the biggest problem of Dragon Heist. It's branding. Dragon Heist doesn't work as a heist. It works as a treasure hunt. It works as a mystery, as a noir. I would say 80% of the material in Dragon Heist perfectly fulfills like the urban fantasy investigative mystery genre. I think if the book was branded as like Waterdeep Dragon Hunt, Waterdeep Treasure Hunt, Waterdeep The Hidden Vault, some kind of title that emphasizes that this adventure isn't about stealing gold, but what it is about hunting for that gold, investigating, unraveling the mystery. If I had the time to homebrew like a casino that Xanathar owns, one of the main villains, what I would do in order to make Waterdeep Dragon Heist more of a heist adventure is that I would take the base of operations that all the different villainous factions have, and I would turn it into like a more heistable location. Like I would give Xanathar a casino, I would give the Zent some kind of like mafia bank. Instead of the Castle Lanterns having a villa, I would give them like a castle with guards and defenses and alarms and traps. I think I would give Jarlaxle like some kind of yacht, like a yacht full of valuables out on the open ocean. And then it's up to players to figure out how they want to go about this heist, what kind of plans they want to create, how they're going to get past the obstacles, the alarms, the risk, the reward, all the things that I mentioned previously in the video. There'd be more of a sandbox element, giving the players the choices for planning and letting them go about the heist in whatever way that they want to. I just wish this book was at least branded differently, or at least had the content of an actual heist, like a heist that fits the genre of heist, and maybe including more elements of sandbox than like a linear storyline. Just kind of let the players explore the city and find their own fun, and then they'll have that main storyline that they can come back to whenever they need to. And also probably fix that tutorial mission, because that's just a weird way to open your game. game. If you want to play in a game that is similar to Waterdeep Dragon Heist, I am currently running a D&D game for my patrons on Patreon. It all takes place in one city. I mean, you can go off and do quests outside of the city, but it basically takes place in one city with a bunch of different warring factions, and you can choose which one you want to side with, choose which ones you're going to help, which ones you're going to fight. It is $10 a month, which is a steal. So if you want to just have a D&D game that you can hop into, have some fun, hop out of, then you should check it out. If you just like my videos, like maybe this is the second or third video of mine that you've seen and you still like my stuff, then I think you should subscribe. I mean, if you're watching these videos already, you might as well hit the subscribe button and maybe even like it too. I mean, you gotten this far in the video, you obviously enjoyed yourself watching it. Leaving a like wouldn't hurt. Oh, I caused damage while begging for internet clicks. If anything, I hope I at least made the game at your table like at least 1% better. Even if you didn't like the video, I hope I at least gave you something to think about and gave you some sort of idea to improve your table. More videos like this will be coming out soon, and I hope you enjoy them. I don't know why I'm still talking. It's the end of the video. People don't even watch this far into the video, so I don't even know who I'm talking to.